All right, are you ready? We are going deep and personal today. And what I want to share with you about today is a little bit more about sex and a little bit more about orgasms. And I want to tell you a secret. I didn't have an orgasm until we'd been married, sexually active, for over 10 years. And I was shocked. I was blown away. It happened just by happenstance. I don't even know how it happened. And I was like, probably because God was like, she needs to know that this is a thing. But it happened and I was like, what was that? And my husband's like, I think you just had an orgasm. And I was like, how? Where did that come from? How? What? I had next to no sexual education growing up. Even as a married woman, I knew next to nothing. I was the girl that probably around, 14, 15, 16 years old, we were talking and hanging out with me and my girlfriends, and we're talking about boys and stuff, and I was always super boy crazy. And I said, you guys, how do you know when you've kissed too much and you need to stop so you don't get pregnant? And they were like, what? And I was like, because I know if you kiss too much, then you can get pregnant, like if you make out for too long. But how do you know when it's been too long? How do you know when to stop so you don't get pregnant? And they were like, I remember them just looking at me like, you've got to be kidding. And they explained the birds and the bees to me. 14, 15, 16, like right around there. I had no clue. It was not something we talked about in my family at all. Even before we got married. No information. The only information I got from my mom was sometime, and it was when I actually asked her, like, do you have any advice for me about getting married? And she said, there's gonna be times when he's gonna want to have sex and you won't, and it's just better if you do. And I was like, oh, that seemed weird, because I could never imagine not wanting to have sex, right? When you've never had sex before and you're engaged and you're getting married and it's all so exciting. Oh man. So fast forward, and 10 years, finally had an orgasm, and I was blown away. And all of a sudden, that became the focus of my existence, was to have another orgasm. And I mean, I'm a hard worker. I'm a push forward energy. I will make things happen. And gosh dang it, if I didn't make that orgasm happen. I made it happen. Is that really the best maybe kind of energy to go into sexual intimacy with? I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna get an orgasm. I'm gonna make sure that I get mine. No, it's not. But that's the energy that I was in, because I discovered this new amazing thing and I wanted to make sure that I got plenty of it. And so we were having sex more often, but it wasn't enjoyable. It was work. Gosh dang, was it work. It was work for over an hour of pushing, of grinding, of trying to make this thing happen. Oh. And again, guess what? After it happened for me, the next time I got to go with my sisters, I was like, okay, I just have to make sure that you all know you know what an orgasm is? And they were like, yeah. And my mom was blown away that I haven't had before. And my sisters, I'm the oldest. I've been married the longest. And this was all news to them. Or they all knew what this was. I was the only one that this was new for. But I've since found out, as I've talked with more and more women about this, as I've worked with more and more women, I'm not alone. There are women who still, one woman I just was working with the other day, she's on her second sexual relationship and she still has never had an orgasm, and she's been sexually active for probably 20 to 30 years. She never had one. And she said, I wonder if my body just can't. And I said, I promise you, your body can. I promise you. And that's what I want to tell you. Your body can. And it can come easily and joyfully. It doesn't have to be a ton of work. Will it take some effort? Probably. That's what masculine energy is there for. Masculine energy is there to provide the foundation, to be the effort, to be the hard thing for us on our feminine energy to flow against. But when you go into sex with just the focus on having an orgasm, whether you're a man or a woman, it kind of takes away some of the fun of it. It makes it more focused instead of just a beautiful opportunity to connect emotionally, physically, mentally, and even spiritually. I was just talking with someone about this today and explaining my whole view on all this, and she said, well, I get the whole thing of like with sex and stuff, but she says, I don't see like how that has to do with God. And I said, oh, it does, it does. Because as we awaken and align sexually and sensually, senses are in our body. And as we acknowledge that our sexuality is what makes us God-like. We're going to talk more about that as time goes on. But right now, I just want you to remember, to know that sex can be the most amazing thing in your life. And it requires communication. It requires vulnerability. It requires healing. On my end, it was massive amounts of healing, of recognizing and becoming aware of that I had been sexually molested as a child. I completely shut that down because I hadn't even, couldn't even remember that had happened until one day I became aware that, oh, that was why I get so tense when my husband does this particular move, was because I was sexually molested as a child with that particular move. And then when I realized that for me, and when I went through the healing work of healing that for me, then I communicated that with him and said, hey, I just want you to know. And he said, thank you for telling me, because he doesn't want to do things that are going to bring back trauma, right? That as we communicate, as we're willing to be vulnerable, as we're willing to be seen and loved and accepted, warts, cellulite, jiggliness, all of it, we can open up to being more loved in our sexual relationships. And guess what? The more love that you show yourself, the more you allow others to love you, because others can only love you to the extent that you love yourself. So God can only love you to the extent that you love you. Your spouse, your kids, your family, your co-workers, your community, your congregation can only love you to the extent that you love you. So loving yourself, healing your body, healing your relationship, and coming into more and more greater alignment is the most important thing you can do. It's the best way that you can serve your family. It's the best way you can show up as a mom or a daughter or a sister or a wife. It's the best way that you can serve the world and that you can do and participate in God's work is by you healing yourself and having maximum, wildly amazing, deep, unconditional love for yourself. If this is speaking to you, if you're like, yes, how many of you right now are listening and you're like, yes, I want that, but I don't know how do I do that? That is why God has taken me on this journey. That's why I've had all these experiences that I have had and come out the other side, is so that I can help you, so that I can show you. I would love to hear your story. I would love to be part of your journey. Please comment below. Please message me if you're not willing yet to share with others and just want to share with me. I see you, I love you, I honor you, and I would love